I always get this wrong. The Lebanon Community School District Board of Directors to order.
Sorry.
Please join me in the flag salute.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We will now move into the public comment portion of the meeting. Public participation is guided by Board Policy BDDH. If you need a copy of that policy, please see Jessica, our Board Secretary. As a reminder for our board members, per policy, the board should refrain from responding to audience comments. Comments must remain civil and on topic. The board may not respond immediately and may refer matters to the superintendent to ask for it to be included in a future agenda. Please note, public comment may offer objective criticism of district operations and programs, add information or a perspective that has not already been mentioned previously, and that patrons refrain from repeating a similar point. The board will not hear comments about individual staff members. Public complaints should follow the district complaint process, which is Board Policy KL and KLAR. Comments about a specific employee or group of employees will immediately be gavelled out with no warning, and I will ask the microphone be turned off. Do we have anybody for public comment? No? Okay. Next on the agenda is district procedure regarding immigration and enforcement.
Yes, thank you. I sent the board some documents earlier this week, and the information did not get in the board packet because we decided late on Friday to add this to the agenda. A few of us were at the OSBA convention or conference this last weekend, and in the regional roundtable, which is the meeting in that all the board and superintendents from our LBL region come together and talk about topics, it was brought up that potentially boards don't know what districts are doing or policies that they have or practices that they have in place in order regarding immigration. So we thought it might be a good idea to bring it up. And so that is why this is on. And, you know, there is heightened awareness now because we had a recent concern of ICE in Albany, which is very close to us. So there is some heightened awareness, heightened fear among our staff and among our students and families. So I wanted to share with you, you know, the role that we play as a school district. We maintain, we're compliant with federal and state laws, which is to educate our children, and we do not play a role in immigration enforcement as a school district. The policies, the practices, the training that we give to our staff is if ICE shows up to our schools or to a building, first of all, we do have all of our doors locked now, so it becomes a little bit easier to monitor who does come in and out of the building. But if immigration officers do come into a building, the office would contact our superintendent's office immediately, and we would then contact our legal counsel. The immigration officers, so they wouldn't be given access to the building or access to students. The only way they would have access to students is through a judicial warrant, which that isn't going to be determined by anybody at the school. It's not going to be determined even by me. We would have legal counsel determine if they have a legal right in order to speak to children. Now, the other fear, though, that is more real, I think, is what if a student's family is stopped and taken while their children are at school? What will happen to their children? So this is the big role that we play in educating our families and supporting them in creating plans in case something happens while the kids are at school and there's nobody to go home to. So we have had trainings with our families to let them know they have to update their emergency contacts. That's really the information we can have at the school. We don't have their immigration status. We're not able to know that, nor do we ask for it. But if they have an emergency contact and a plan for themselves, then that can be enacted by their emergency contact. So that is really the support that we can provide, is supporting the families and having that plan in case something does happen. So I will be sending this out to staff again, just because, like I said, there is heightened fear. Unfortunately, it impacts student attendance. We haven't had too much of a drop in student attendance, but, you know, even just one student who doesn't come to school is, you know, too many. So anyway, I wanted the board to know that we do consider this and think about it regularly, speak with our families. We have bilingual community liaison and other bilingual staff who are really close to the families and are trusted by the families, who can provide that guidance on creating a plan if their students have no parents at home or something like that happens. Do you have any questions?
No questions? Okay.
Thank you. Yeah, absolutely.
Brandon, alternative education.
Hi, everybody. Thanks for having me tonight. I'm Brandon Wiest. I oversee alternative programs in the school district. And so tonight I'm just going to give a broad overview of the different programs we have. And then at the end, if you have any questions, feel free to ask. So up on the screen, you'll see the different programs that I oversee. And really what that is K through 12 staircase to help some of our most disadvantaged at-risk youth of making that way up that ladder or up that staircase to a high school diploma. And then our first program is our Elementary Emotional Growth Center. It's located at Cascades Elementary, serving grades K through 5. These students struggled in their resident school. They have huge behavioral concerns, and so our goal is to teach them those social, emotional, behavioral skills so that they can get back into the general education setting and eventually their home school. We don't really deal with disruptive behaviors. It's not tearing papers or refusal to do their assignment. It's serious stuff. It's elopement out of the building and into streets. It's breaking in windows out of the classroom, or physical aggression towards staff or their peers, kicking, hitting, biting, spitting, those type of things. And success doesn't happen overnight, but we have seen a lot of success. Of those 13 students we currently have in the program, 7 are accessing gen ed at some point during their day. One of the students we sent back at the start of the school year from last year, and we expect one more to go back before the end of the year. And so, when kids come into the program, they're sometimes in there for a year or more. And so just a shout out to our Welcome Center, because there's only so much we can do within the school system. But the Welcome Center supports families outside of the school to really move the needle in a lot of the things that we need to have happen. So appreciate them a lot. Yeah, and then once again, our goal is to get kids back to their home school and out of our program. We want to work ourselves out of a job. And if that doesn't happen, then we have a program at the middle school. And that is our also called Emotional Growth Center at Seven Oak. That'll be on the next slide. We currently have 8 students in that program, and I think that's a testimony to the foundation that our elementary program is setting. We're getting kids back to their home schools and in gen ed, so there's not as many students in that program, although we do have some students from Seven Oak come in for a period a day just to kind of get those same social emotional skills. We have a couple of those 8 students who do spend the majority of their day in that classroom, but the rest of them are getting out usually starting with their preferred electives and then, more mainstream into the core classes that aren't as preferred. So we have, a K through 5, 6th through 8th, and then going into high school, we want most kids by that point to be able to, give LHS a shot. But there is now a program at 9th and 10th grade level on the next slide that is called our CLIMB program. If you're familiar with Ralston Academy, we modeled it after that very similarly, but on a scaled down version because we just have one teacher, Jordan Ford, if you're familiar with him. So we have 15 student max. The difference is it's not a placement for like an IEP of like the elementary and middle school program. Students have to apply and interview to be in that program. So they have to want to be there. And I think that's what makes the difference. There's buy-in. The kids might have had terrible attendance at LHS, but now they're showing up. And when kids show up, they tend to do better. So after their sophomore year, they have to kind of choose, hey, do we want to go back to LHS or go to LHS or try out Ralston as a junior? And a lot of the structural things are very similar. We operate on 6-week mini terms. We have the same 7-period schedule every day, and they can earn 1.5 credits in that mini term in that 6 weeks. And then and then also at the Teen Center is our Bridge program, which is mostly students who have been expelled. We have our high schoolers attend in the morning, our middle schoolers attend in the afternoon. We have 6 high school students who are in the morning program and 2 middle school students in the afternoon program. And those are much lower numbers than when I first started 5 years ago. I would give a lot of that credit to that CLIMB program, the students who 50% of them probably would have been expelled or have been expelled in the past now want to be at school and aren't forced to be there because they're expelled. And those 2 middle school students were not expelled this year. They're finishing up from an expulsion last year. So pretty cool this far into the school year at the middle school, nobody's been expelled. When a student is expelled, they can be expelled for 1 day up to 1 year. Most of them are usually given a reconsideration hearing. So it's like, hey, if you're showing up, doing what you're supposed to be doing, being kind, you can get back to your school earlier than the full expulsion date. And when they are there, they're usually working on Edgenuity to earn credit with support from our staff. And then we have Ralston Academy, which serves, we cap at 60 students, same format. Kids have to apply. Sometimes there's a wait list and then an interview process with me. We've had 50 plus graduates for each year of the last 4 years. So that roughly makes up 15 to 20% of an LHS graduating class. So always proud of that. Last year we only had 5 seniors not finish or leave Ralston and not come back maybe as a 5th year senior, and they were experiencing hardships, mental health hospitalizations, pregnancies, stuff like that. But, about 90% of our kids that come to Ralston graduate. And once again, that's the 60 most at-risk kids for dropping out from LHS. They can earn 10.5 credits per year. So if you think of a kid coming to us with 0 credits as a junior, nada, they could still earn 21. Which is pretty close to that 24 by the time they're done. And then we have, online Edgenuity, work-based learning stuff that can make up that gap. And we're not our own independent school. We're a program for LHS. So, not utilized a whole lot, but our kids can still participate in sports and after-school activities and stuff like that with them. And something I'm proud of is we currently have 6 graduates working from in the school district who went through Ralston. Most of those are actually in my elementary program or at the CLIMB program. So kind of vetting out that talent, be like, hey, have you ever thought about working with kids? Maybe you want to, go do a little internship, see if you like it. And then if they're good, we'll employ them. So. And just a couple of pictures from around Ralston, some of the things we've been doing this year on the next few slides. Being an alternative school, we really want to get kids out in the community and experience things. So field trips we've done this year off to the left, we took them to OSU. In the middle, the Albany Carousel, and on the last one in the middle, the Albany Carousel. They got to go behind scenes and see how those things are made, which was pretty cool. Yeah. I wasn't there, so I don't know, but I bet it was a cool experience. Taking them out to Waterloo Park for photography. They went to McDowell Creek Park, I think. On the next slide, We got to hook up with train stations so kids were able to go like halfway to Sweet Home and back and get that exposure. And I doubt any of those kids have had that trip. So that was cool for them. And then on the next one, just fun stuff around Ralston. Kids that typically wouldn't be like in the pep assembly spirit week type of stuff, they're dressing up like staff for a day. I'm wearing the embarrassing jorts to look like the fellow student at Ralston. So we have a lot of fun there. It's a lot of difficult stuff that we deal with, but also a lot of fun. And then lastly, tutoring and online programs. We have 4 students in tutoring, one-to-one with a tutor. It's, students who maybe were expelled and it wasn't working out, being around other peers in the bridge program, or they're medically fragile and can't be around kids. So it's not utilized very often, but it is an important tool in the tool belt. And then we have Evergreen, which we started this year, and in full transparency, I'm still learning, but there's currently 60 students I saw that are enrolled one way or another, either full-time online or they're maybe doing an elective that isn't offered in the school district. And then Graduation Alliance, we've had that for a couple years now. It's really focusing on dropout recovery. So they get contact information from those 19, 20-year-old kids who didn't finish, and they try to reach out, get them back. Maybe they're working full-time and just couldn't do school. And we currently have 7 students enrolled in that program. And over the course of the last couple of years, we had 12 students finish. And it doesn't seem like a whole lot, but I mean, that's 12 human beings in our community that have a high school diploma now that wouldn't have otherwise. So I still consider it a win. And I think that's a broad stroke overview of all the programs we got going on. So if you have any questions, feel free.
No questions, but I was really thankful that you did this, or whoever put it together, because it really answers a lot of questions about, where some of the students that are at risk are and what's being done about it. And some of these I was not aware of, even though I drive by the old hospital, which was the old library, which now is the bridges and so forth. And I see kids around there, but I really didn't know what was going on. So this was really helpful. Thanks a lot.
Absolutely.
I don't have any questions. I just want to say incredible outcomes. I appreciate everything that you do.
And we appreciate you, Nicole, stopping by and checking out things at Ralston
Are we
last year.
having Thanksgiving?
I know, I was waiting for Melissa to say.
That was so good.
Friendsgiving this upcoming Friday.
That mac and cheese.
Noon.
This
Feel
coming
free.
Friday?
This upcoming Friday. Not tomorrow, but
okay.
next week at noon.
I
So
gotta
feel
write that
free.
down.
Okay. Melissa's writing it
I'm
down.
writing it down, yeah.
And I know I say this every year when Brandon gives his presentation, but it is the humans the educators and the staff that are working in these programs led by Brandon are just saving kids' lives. That's as simple as it is. They are literally saving kids' lives. And I know that sounds a little dramatic, but it's not. I mean, if you hear the stories of the students that we serve, it is pretty incredible. And like you said, it's not just that, they're actually getting outcomes, and students have hope when they graduate and for, a successful life. So if you ever can stop and see just the people that are working, that have the heart to work with our most at-risk students, it is hard work, but they are amazing, amazing folks.
You can see the connection that all of the staff has with the kids, and it is fun to just walk in there and watch and see the kids interact and play video games with Brandon and give him a hard time.
That was a fun, not every day. I just want to clarify, not video games every day, but yeah, so we have some fun days. Yeah.
I was trying to learn that last year. I didn't get very far. I just had to watch. So kudos to them, because it's not my thing.
Yep, absolutely. We have an incredible staff. I try to stay humble, but I do pride myself on we've hired amazing human beings who show up daily and go through a lot, but keep showing up to help out kids. Every program, I just have great people. And I got to give one last shout out before I get off the microphone to those 2 people in the back, Roxanne and Camion, because at Cascades, they dealt with a lot supporting our program. So appreciate them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Thank you for your
Thank you,
leadership
Brandon.
and your vision and your passion. Appreciate you.
Okay, next we have the board stipend policy update.
Yes, I brought this forward so for you to have a discussion as a board. I did not put it in policy for a read because I didn't know if you'd even want it in there for a read. As you know, the legislature passed in 2023 the fact that boards could receive a stipend. But there were still barriers to that. And then just recently in 25, one of those barriers was removed during legislation, but it's still really complex. I think it came up again also because I think recently, I know, recently Portland Public Schools Board passed stipends for their board members. And so it was a topic at the convention. I went to that session and I was still confused. But we only need to be confused if it's something that you want to explore. So I'll let you discuss it. And if it's something you want to explore, then there would be the how you do that. So
I think everybody in that seminar, when the Portland school said that they were getting those, everybody went. There was very, very few people that were like, oh, okay. Everybody else had the shocked reaction. So
I guess I'll start. I ran and want to be on the school board too as a volunteerism. And I think we have plenty other ways to be spending our funds. So I guess I would agree if anybody else agrees with me, but but I'd like to just kind of end the conversation here and not put it forward to a policy reading.
that's where I stand. I took this as a volunteer position, and that's where I stand on it.
Leave it as it is. I don't
We can
think
table
should
it.
be paid for our services.
No,
Yeah, I agree.
Just leave
there's
it the way
too
it
many
is.
other things the district needs to do with that money.
Yep.
Okay.
okay, that was easy. I think I actually spoke with Clyde this morning. We had our one-on-one meeting, and I believe he's probably listening. So I think he feels the same way. But I'm not voting. I'm not talking for him.
No,
I'm
he
just-
told me the same thing. He
Okay,
does.
okay.
So yeah.
Thank you. That was easy.
Yay. Okay, consent agenda. Anyone? Do we want to take it as it is? Do we want to pull anything out?
Are all the policies included in that?
Yeah.
That's a massive consent agenda. Were the two 10-page ARs that only have the two JOIGBAB AR, that's a 10-page AR, and the one previously IGBAB JOAR PDF, those are identical, aren't they? Or are they? The two ARs? I mean, I kind of jumped through them and they appear to be.
Which two ARs? Oh, yes. Yes. So they get shown in two different areas. So the I section and the J section. So they're the same policy, but they show up in two different places. So yes.
Yeah. Is there a way to, I mean, it could have been, I guess, printed on here with a slash or something, and so it wasn't 10 more pages to kind of wade through and try to figure out, is this identical or whatever? But anyway, that was
That's
the
fair.
main
That's a
question.
great suggestion. Jessica and I can work on that.
Like JOIG or something, I don't know, if it can be.
It's IGBAB /JO, and then it's JO /IGBAB are the same.
Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah, we can probably just have one of them in there. Hopefully that doesn't happen very often, but it definitely does.
Yeah.
That is probably more helpful than looking at this.
Right. And then there was an AR approving instructional materials. I didn't know that in approving those, and those are instructional materials that are both supplemental library, classroom use, and classroom curriculum. I didn't see a mention, and I just could have missed it as I was reading through it, of age appropriateness or developmentally appropriate. Is there an evaluation done by someone? And we're just asked for approval, but not to determine whether it's age appropriate in our approval.
Right.
Is stuff that's, are materials that are brought to us already approved developmentally?
Yes, the process for our core curriculum, which is what the board ultimately approves, goes through a very, very rigorous process. So it could start with the state, depending on what the committee looks at. But if you do an independent adoption, you have to go through an evaluation on your own. But it is a very thorough process, looking at the alignment to standards.
Yeah, I'm aware of that. 'cause
Okay,
I've
I
talked
guess
to
I
some
didn't know
people
what
and
you
they
meant.
think- But the supplemental materials are like library materials that don't
Oh.
go through that scrutiny.
Yeah, well, those don't come to the board for
But have
approval.
they been evaluated for being developmentally appropriate for certain ages?
That's a really good question. I would say supplemental materials that are district, I'm not going to, the word mandated is coming to my mind, but the ones we choose as a district to use consistently across grade levels, yes, we go through a process. Now, some teachers probably use supplemental materials that aren't happening across the school district.
Yeah, for sure.
So that is something that we try to keep consistent so that everybody's using similar things that are aligned to the standards. So,
Yeah.
and library books goes through a decision process.
I'd be concerned about parents like
Mm-hmm.
possibly saying that's not appropriate for my children, particularly at elementary and library materials.
Mm-hmm.
Supplemental things in the classroom, I think the teachers are pretty careful about that. Generally, I haven't run into anything
Yeah.
that's been,
Well, and that's what these policies are for parents to be able to, say, we want that book. We don't want that book in the library.
yeah, does that go through some kind of a process?
Goes through,
to
it was,
reevaluate?
yeah, it's outlined in those ARs, the process,
Yeah.
if somebody appeals, yes.
Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah.
And then a question about IKF, essential skills requirement.
Yeah.
It's required, but is now that in force?
Not until the 27-28 school year. If you could look at the footnote of the policy, it says that date, but it's back in there now so that we don't have to redo it in 2 years.
Yeah, I was aware of the date, but
Oh.
because it was in the policy or in the AR, then I'm going, oh, they changed that. But they haven't changed.
No, I think
the
there's
date.
an asterisk by it, if I'm not mistaken, but
Okay.
I could be wrong. I know it's in the footnote. But yeah, it's still waived.
But the graduation requirements are, I find those are really important to look at pretty closely. IKF 5.8, essential skills testing requirement in the language of origin. Is that possible in all the languages if people choose to do it in Chinese? And then at whose cost?
I guess that would be our cost.
To the district's cost?
Sure.
Yeah, that would be really, could be time consuming.
It could be, but we want to give students, the best opportunity to show what they know and not, determine their level of knowledge in a different language if they can't.
Yeah, no, I understand that. And then I did get a little bit of a chuckle that the district doesn't allow student-initiated test impropriety.
I don't know what you're referring to. Which policy is that?
I think they're referring to cheating. They don't allow cheating.
Oh,
But they called it, I think, student impropriety, testing impropriety.
Oh,
But that's, I guess, what it would be.
I
You
assume
don't
it
Don't
would.
allow it.
Where is
Yeah, we
that?
don't allow it. It's definitely not allowed. Absolutely
I
not
thought that was
allowed.
kind of a funny thing to put in there, but I liked it.
I must have been in there for years and years and years, so,
And
because
it's
that
just
wasn't,
stayed.
yeah, it just
It could be,
stays.
yeah.
It just
But
stays.
those are the only questions I had.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate your questions.
Anybody else? Do we have a motion? Do I take it as it is?
Oh, I'd say take it as it is.
So we have a motion. Do we have a second?
Yeah.
Second.
All those in favor?
I,
Aye. That carries. Okay, department reports. Operations.
Okay. Chair Pylan, members of the board, is that a bus on that lift? As a matter of fact, that is a bus on the lift. And this is what it looked like a few short months ago. And that was before it rained and became Lebanon's second swimming pool. So as we go back, the bus lift is done. It's working. It's safe. Ben and Cody, our district mechanics, we love you, Ben and Cody, are all smiles. The bus lift clicks off every 6 inches, which is amazing. If you're not familiar with how it worked before, it clicked off at the top. And so you would have the bus, unless it was on the safety lift, it would be on the lift in the morning and it would be on the ground in the next morning. So the amount of safety is incredible. I'll say that being able to work on things like the brakes and the axles and not have to worry about your own safety, and since we do our own annual inspections, is a huge thing for our team. We'll go on to the next slide here. A piece of heavy equipment when we were putting the bus lift in actually damaged one of our doors, so we got new doors. And then the middle picture there is the rear axle lift, and so you can see how deep that goes into the ground. Thank you to the school board for supporting this project and helping us get 1% better in our safety, 1% better in our work efficiency, and 1% better in our effective facilities. Speaking of facilities, the district will be implementing policies KG, KGAR1, and KGAR2 regarding community use of facilities effective Jan 1. And as I mentioned in another communication, we'll be sending out communications to our community next week on that. So we are excited. The bus lift is done and it's lifting buses. This is good. And that's all I have, Chairman.
That's it? All right. Finance.
Okay, good evening, board members. Prior to jumping into our district finances, I wanted to speak on what we're seeing in the news about the state projecting revenue shortfalls. I know that to me, the state likes to throw out big numbers, and that can be scary or fearful for people. So I want to share what my view is on that. They will be sending out the updated revenue forecast next week, but prior to that, they have asked departments to submit a plan for what their plan is if there was a 5% reduction. An example would be ODE, the Oregon Department of Education. They asked them, and so this is something that I just want to state is a required planning process. It's not something that's new. Seems to be hitting the news a lot more now than in the past, but it is something that we've done a lot in the state. It is not a budget cut at this point, so the legislature will decide what, if any, reductions occur, not ODE, and that will be in February. Nothing will take effect, from my understanding, until next fiscal year. So we are to use our allocations as planned for the current year. So we are not making any changes or adjustments until something actually happens. Because even with ODE submitting their plan on saying, we recommend, I would say the 2 points that we watch for is if they recommend trimming SIA and high school success grant. Those two are critical grants for us that we would have to make some adjustments in some manner if that happened. But while OD submits that, the legislature may look at it and say, no, we're not going to do any of that, or that looks good and we're going to trim, or we actually don't need to do a reduction because of our reserve. So there's just a lot of unknown right now. We will know more next month after that next forecast comes out. speaking of big numbers, I shared with our cabinet this morning, and I wanted to share with the board the way I also view that on, because we hear $900 million, like not all those dollars hit our district. Same with enrollment. So if you go on to the Oregon demographics, they project a reduction of 81,000 students in the next 10 years for kids ages 5 through 17. And that sounds like a big number, and 81,000, but I break that down to 8,100 over each year for 8,100 per year. With 197 districts, that's an average of 41 students per district. We know some districts are larger than others, and that affects others differently, and I wanted to kind of show that tonight, where our state school fund is based on that, our estimate of membership and enrollment, and that's, we're getting paid as having 3,906 students, and our October 1 enrollment was 3,872, a difference of 34 kiddos. Corvallis estimate, they're getting paid for 5,904, and they came in at around 5,880. They're about 24 short. Albany estimate was 8,595, which that projection that they submitted to get paid on, they anticipated losing 161 kids. They actually came in at 200 more than that, so they are 361 less, and so they're 8395. And that's, I want to share that state school fund remembers, like, it's a 2-year deal, and so it's always that estimate where we could be spot on, and still it's going to be adjusted because of other districts that are getting paid incorrectly, right? Whether it's higher or lower. Once again, that's why we maintain a strong, healthy ending fund balance, where it's like that's so that we can continue to do the programs that we do. An example, we utilize our grants so much. I know we've said this before, but that's what really keeps us, our cash flow monitoring daily from the whole finance team to how we're spending our money and being able to do that. So an example would be our summer school program that we did in June and July. That total cost for us for everything from material to supplies to staffing was $307,000, and a lot of schools or districts had to turn that down because they just didn't have the money up front. We haven't been reimbursed for that yet. We hear that that's coming in this week. We've reached out a couple times, but that's mid-November by the time we're getting that money back to start earning that interest again on that funds. Any questions on that part? As we dig into our district finances.
Steven, I have one
Oh, yeah.
question. Okay, so this is very comforting. It just kind of makes me think that it's all relative, but in your experience, have you been asked, or has a district been asked to think about trimming more than 5%, say, in the last 10 years?
Well, I don't quite have 10 years experience. When I was in Corvallis, we did trim, but when we were building a budget and we're in need to do that, we did ask. What we did was some zero-based budgeting, where it's like you're starting from zero. It's not a rollover. It's zero-based and finding out what you exactly need. And I believe it was a 10% cut at that time when we were doing it, a 10% trim. That's what we asked. And if there was a different need, there was an explanation was needed for why you couldn't do that.
Yeah.
That's a good question. And on that note, when I watch what people are submitting for their plans, I see some other ones that are saying, I've seen some that say, we've already cut 20%. We can't cut anymore. This is why this is important. Don't know if that works. It's like if the funding's not there, I get that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Thank you. And so for our district report that you're seeing today, you'll start, really this is the last month I feel I do a lot more activity starting in November. So our property taxes start rolling in. We start literally today, John and I in the finance department are adjusting our grant allocations and adjustments to how our staffing is funded, where we're finding, there's a little bit of room here. We can put some additional staff through SIA. We can have some IDA, and just making that adjustment to keep our general fund healthy. We will make an adjustment on the state school fund because our enrollment has dropped. I anticipate that to be $476,000 from what we budgeted for. On the same lines, I think you'll start seeing the earnings on investments I budget conservatively, and I think that's going to jump up. Right now, if you ask me to guess, I would say about 161,000 more than what we're projecting. Same with Max Study. Max Study in the past used to be inconsistent because all districts had to submit in order to get the payment processed. The ESD that they have running that program now is incredible, and it's been consistent, which makes it a lot easier to budget. And we've seen that consistently be around $330,000. That's 3 times a year. We haven't received anything yet. The fall one just happened this week, and usually we'll see that payment come through if they stay consistent the first or second week in December. And once again, that was conservative because they tell us to do that, right? Thinking you may only get 2 payments, and so we budget 500, where last year we received just over $1 million with the 300 3 times. I think that's all I have.
Thanks.
Okay.
I just had a comment. I think a couple times at the conference, Nicole and I looked at each other and we're just really thankful we have you. Because in hearing from other districts, and I think it was obvious that we appreciate you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And then we had Will to explain when we had questions.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And a lot
Will.
of people at the conference, I think we all looked at each other at one point. They were talking about having to make cuts and
Drastic cuts.
how
Yeah.
much shortfall they had. And we're all looking at each other going, what?
Like Stephen hasn't told us that.
Well, I can't say that won't ever happen,
Yeah.
depending on how our revenue goes. But I do think it's important just to stay healthy and have the positive. Yeah. Thank you. I'll jump into the CET tax, which construction excise tax. That's our next one. Asking the board for approval to adjust the rates. These rates are adjusted by the Department of Revenue, and they send those out. I'm asking us to just go along and follow those rates so that we stay consistent. Looks like from 24-25 for residential, it goes from 1.63 to 1.67 this current year to 1.7, and non-residents goes to 0.82 to 0.84 to 0.85. I will share our history with that over the last 5 years. This is held in Fund 272, if you look in our budget. These funds are required revenues to be used for capital improvements only, and we have received an average of $240,000 each year over the last 5 years. What we've used most recently, we spent $1 million on the Lacombe roof, $282,000 on the new Seven Oak active warehouse, and $110,000 on the LHS cafeteria upgrades. Plus, it looks like this year, we did receive already $84,000 in 25-26, and we had plans in the budget to spend about $80,000 on finishing the Lacombe interior after the roof with the ceiling tiles and such.
I'd move to approve the increase on the excise taxes.
Do we have a second?
Second. Oh.
All those in favor? Aye. That carries.
Thank you.
Okay, board communication. Anybody?
Well, congratulations to our football team for making it to the state playoffs. I'm sorry it didn't go as you wanted that first game, but
We were listening.
we were listening at the restaurant. I think everybody around us heard us, at least me. And Nicole's arm hurts a little, but
Maybe.
yeah, good effort.
Thank you. Yeah.
Yeah, it's fun watching you guys all throughout the year. I gotta say, like, I didn't know I was a football, like, that big of a fan, but I am now.
You're a Warrior fan.
Yeah, I mean, I'm basketball, but football now. Yeah, Warriors. Anyways, it was fun watching you all. You guys did great.
That's it?
Yeah, I'm gonna go to Thanksgiving.
Oh, well, I
Dinner,
am too.
lunch. I gotta make sure I put PTO time in for that.
Anybody else?
No, I'm good.
Okay, students.
T-Mobile's Friday night 5G lights contest has concluded, and T-Mobile will be coming to an assembly tomorrow at the high school starting at 9:05, where our board is, of course, welcome. And they will be awarding the school with $100,000.
Awesome.
Very exciting.
And then, after an amazing season in which the high school football team went undefeated in the league and won a league title, we were unfortunately eliminated in the first round playoffs by Churchill. But overall, an amazing season, and amazing season for all our fall sports, with winter sports officially starting next Monday.
Wow. Okay.
Great.
Our JROTC team is hosting a drill competition at LHS for teams all over Oregon and Washington. There are 14 schools competing in the competition. And then our senior job fair is coming up on December 9th.
Thank you.
Question on the stadium, is that 100,000, it's going to just go towards the stadium when we replace it? Is that the plan?
Yes. So we have a specific account that it'll go into. So all of the money that the 25, the 100, will all go into that account.
And then I've seen like a lot of comments out there about people wanting to donate. Can they also donate through the district right now?
They
Or is there
can.
something separate going to get
Thank you
set
for
up?
bringing that up. Yes, they can. They can go through the business department, and Stephen's got a little extra here.
I was say, isn't that on the website? You select the Heath Stadium option?
Yes, thank
Okay.
you. Yes, we added it as on the drop down for donations on the website for each school site. Yep.
And if they donate, just question, because I got asked. So I said, is it 100% of the donations will go to the stadium if they choose that?
100%.
That's awesome.
So every dollar that goes in goes directly to the
And
stadium.
it says, does it say that on the website?
It may not. Yeah, we can put that on the website to just.
I think
yeah.
that would be great because I
Yeah.
think people would be more apt to give
Sure,
if
that
they
makes
knew that
sense. Sure.
100% was going towards the stadium.
Okay, fair.
Yeah. Well, it'll be exciting to see. I think there's a lot of momentum out there for people that are wanting to give.
Okay. Jen Zen?
Well, I'm
Or
going to make a
superintendent?
couple comments
Okay.
first, and then Jen's in. I wanted to thank those of you that were able to attend the OSBA convention, and Will and I actually really always, well, I'm not going to speak for Will. I always enjoy going, and what I really enjoy about it is learning alongside of you. It's really nice to have a board that is engaged in becoming better. And I know for myself, I learned some things that I can do to make our relationship better, which makes our district better. And so some of the things that I would like to, one of the things I would like to explore is a board superintendent agreements, which a lot of districts have. And I asked about that right when I became superintendent, but that board wasn't interested, or that was not interested at the time. So if you don't mind, I'd like to bring some samples forward, maybe at the January board meeting.
I like that, yeah.
look at
I
that.
was looking at those too after that conversation, yeah.
Yeah. And it just outlines how we're going to communicate with each other, and your roles and my roles. And I know it's all in policy, but it is just much more clear if it's on like a 2-page or something we can refer to, kind of like ground rules. And then I would like to become better at maybe a weekly communication. I don't do a weekly communication with you. And I would like to start that. That would just be an email to you about the things that are happening in the school district. I will probably start that maybe January 1, 2. I don't want to promise and overpromise and underdeliver because the November and December get a little crazy, but I'm going to build a template that makes sense. So, and it's not too cumbersome, something that you can look at easily that doesn't, and that I can actually accomplish. So maybe it'll be like a little facilities update for the week, maybe some updates from a school visit I do, things that, because one of the big things that we want to put in our board agreements is nobody wants surprises, whether that's you guys getting surprises or me getting surprises. So
That was brought up heavily this
Yeah.
past weekend, is no surprises, no surprises.
So I want to do better as a superintendent, and I appreciate that you all as board members want to do better, because ultimately that helps our students and our district. So
that's what I wanted to say about that. And then I have Gen Zen. Oh, I got to share my screen here. Okay. Oh, for goodness sakes. There we go. Elective opportunities at Hamilton Creek. Students at Hamilton Creek are getting hands-on, engaging learning experiences through a wide range of electives, a big win for one of our smaller rural schools. This year, Hamilton Creek is offering 6 electives: Ultimate Frisbee, Guitar, Multimedia Productions, Advanced Art, Science is Fun, and STEM. These classes give students the chance to explore new interests, build skills, and connect learning to real-world experiences. In addition to these electives, Hamilton Creek has also partnered with Lebanon High School to offer band for middle school students. Thanks to this collaboration, LHS band director Danny Canty visits Hamilton Creek every Red Day. Red is like they have a block schedule, so they have red days and blue days. So on his red days, he travels to Hamilton Creek to work with about 20 middle schoolers with instruments as they learn and perform together. It is a great opportunity for the students. This is always a fun one, Pioneer Veterans Breakfast. I think we had a couple board members attend.
You see my
Nicole.
picture. You know how I feel about those.
I didn't put the picture
I
on
know.
there. So last Friday, Pioneer School hosted its annual Veterans Day breakfast, a long-standing tradition honoring and celebrating our local veterans. 5th grade students welcomed veterans from next door's Oregon Veterans Home, along with family members who have served in the armed forces. Students interviewed the visiting veterans, hearing firsthand stories of service and dedication to our country. Veterans, Lebanon Mayor Ken Jacola and Lynn County Commissioner Will Tucker also attended this event. Thank you to Pioneer School for continuing this meaningful tradition of honoring those who have served. And thank you to board members Clyde and Nicole for attending as well. And this is a fun story. Again, it's a highlight on Ralston Academy, who we just heard a little bit about them. Earlier this week, Ralston Academy students lent a helping hand to support local families in need by packing food boxes donated by Youth Era, one of the school's community partners. Youth Era arrived with a U-Haul full of food, and students worked together to assemble boxes for distribution. And this was after their school hours, they did this.
Wow.
Each student who participated received a $50 gift card as a thank you for their time and effort, and that was from Youth Era. This was a rewarding way to give back and make a difference in their community. It was pretty amazing. You can see there in the pictures, all that food that was brought.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it was good. Thank you for letting me share.
Okay. And then we have public comment. No public comment?